Good morning. Coming to you again from a hotel room in Denver, Colorado. Today is May 14th, and it is a day that we're going to be looking at Psalm chapter 14. I want to show you a couple things, though, just keep you up to date what's going on. I'm going to turn the phone around. This is out of my hotel room, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it. But there is a billboard out there that says, "Really?" And I have no clue what that means. It's the only billboard out here at all. And just odd. I think it's very odd. And I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I can give you a little bit of a devotion, or I might just stand in and where the mountains are in the background. But they're not where I can see them where I am now. But Psalm chapter 14 starts out with, a fool says in his heart that there is no God. No God. Yep, that would be foolish. And I think all fools will be enlightened at judgment. That will be clearly, that there is no God will be clearly dispelled. But nonetheless, this is what the rest of the psalm has to say, is while it says that there is no God, David recognizes that there's no one who does good. No, people just aren't doing good. What's the deal? And it says this in verse 1 and in verse 3. And I would like to point out a couple things. When Paul uses this idea in Romans chapter 3, that there is no one that's good, no one that's righteous. And the idea is that there's no one that's perfect. That comes from Greek as well as in the Hebrew in the Old Testament. And I want to point out a couple other things with this. When David says this in Psalm 14, that there is no one that's good, his son also points that out. Solomon does, when he has a prayer of that he's saying, having a prayer before they open the temple. And Solomon recognizes that there are no good people, that there is no one totally righteous. And I would like to point out this about David. He was a wise man. I know most of us think that Solomon was the wisest one of all, and I would agree with that to the degree that Jesus was wiser still, but Solomon was the man that God had given wisdom. But in Solomon's life, you can see some hints if you read back into David's life and recognize Solomon got some of his wisdom, I think, from his own dad. And I think that's a good thing. It should happen. And I think it did happen with Solomon. And this may be one of those instances where David said, hey, there's no one good and there's no one perfect. Solomon, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I have the heart of God. David says that later. But I just want to point that out. I think there's several things that we can read in the book of Proverbs and in Solomon's life that David may have instilled into him. And I think this is one of those. That there in mankind, there is no perfect person. David opens that, it's foolish to say that there's no God. And in the end, people will be enlightened in judgment. And that's not an argument that God haters or Christian haters or that people who don't believe are going to accept that argument, because it's an argument we can't prove until the of working and until the time of judgment. But in the end, they'll find out. But God has given us a lot of reasons to believe. And I think this particular psalm is helping us with the idea that salvation does come from Zion. We're talking about Jesus, who died just and brought salvation to us through his death. And by the grace of God, we can have faith in that, and then receive the goodness that no one is having. We receive perfection. We become the righteousness of God when we believe, which we don't, but we will have it by our faith in Christ. But Psalm 14 has often been called the Fool's Psalm because of its opening. I would encourage you to read it, just that it does illustrate that, hey, David even recognizes, there's no one here that's perfect, but we keep our trust. I keep my refuge is in God. My hope is in God. My salvation is in God. And in God I will find my help. And that is true all the time. The wicked run all about us, and they may run over us. But in the end, we just have to keep our faith and recognize that God truly is our salvation. Well, I hope that you have a great day. It's good to see you, Brother Terry, and others that have maybe... we're looking to be on our way back to Kansas tomorrow. We thought we would be in Montrose today, but Dolly is still in the hospital. But they're looking to release her this May 14th. I believe this is a Thursday. So we'll be on our way back tomorrow for those in Parsons looking to see us again. So have a great day. God bless. And keep reading the Psalms. We'll see you.